Back, and you are tuned into the Labor Forum here at WRFG 89.3 FM in Atlanta. Our two guests are here in the studio. This is going to be a cool conversation because the city of Atlanta obviously really touts itself as a convention center, a tourist center. That means hotel workers and all kinds of service workers. And we have had on this program so many low-wage workers from fast food, home health care, daycare, you know, just all the folks who do much of what in the song that starts our program, we do the work, yet get such measly, lousy wages that they oftentimes are actually forced to be on different kinds of public benefit programs. So in the studio, for those of you that are watching live on the Labor Forum YouTube channel or who will watch it later, on the same channel, you will see Alphonso Pines. Hi, Alphonso.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you.
And seated next to him is Geno Lawson, and Geno is a cook at the Hyatt Regency.
Yes, I am.
I should take lessons. Anyway.
Anytime.
So we want to start first off, if we'll start with Alphonso. You are an organizer with Unite Here, and we want to get a picture for our listeners about, you know, really how many tens of thousands of people work in the various hotels and motels, who they are, you know, what their demographics is and what their working conditions are, if you can do that.
Okay, I can speak to, nationally, Unite Here represents about 280,000 hospitality workers. That's from airports to hotels, food service. In Atlanta, I really don't know those numbers. I've been here about a year. We represent 2 hotels. We represent the Hyatt Regency, Western Peachtree Plaza, and we also represent the food service at Atlanta Airport, all of the vendors out there. The demographics in the hotels that I've seen, just not scientific, not a survey. I would think Atlanta is really an African-American city, but it's really, you see now, you do see a lot of Hispanics, and you see a lot of Africans from Ethiopia and places like that, and we got Bosnia from Eastern Europe. So it's changing, and I would say the most dominant group would be African Americans. You know, African Americans. Then I would say Ethiopians. You know, it's kind of hard to figure out what that is right there, but Hispanic community is pretty big also. And then, you know, it's a lot of what we see around the country, a lot of Eastern Europeans coming into the industry. So the industry is changing for a lot of ways, a lot of different opportunities, but a lot of potential.
Could you describe some of the jobs? I mean, and some of the obvious things that you think about when you go check into a hotel is you've got the people in the lobby who register you, and you've got the maids who, you know, do that, and if you go to the restaurant, you've got those workers. But are there some that perhaps we don't think about?
Well, we call them housekeepers. We don't call them maids. The housekeepers decided years ago that they would like to be called housekeepers instead of maids. That's one. You have a lot what we call front of the house and back of the house people. In the lobby, you would see front desk workers, and then you would see lobby attendants, people that kind of cleaned up the lobby and stuff like that. And then in the restaurants, you would see the servers and bussers, people who do that. And then in the back of the house, you would have the housekeepers, you would have the housemen, people who take up laundry to the housekeepers who do a job. They kind of, sometimes the housekeepers can be considered invisible people, up until you go into a room and there's no soap, or there's no none of the little things in there. You know, something that's missing, or some hairs in the bathtub or something like that. And those are some very, you know, dishwashers who nobody thinks about a dishwasher. He's out of sight. You know, a pot washer job is, if you got a cook who can't cook, it can be a hard job. Somebody who's burning up pots. Can be a pretty.
Not Geno.
Yeah, not Geno, but you know, but no, those jobs are necessary to run a hotel. You know, those jobs it's a lot of behind the scene. When you go into a banquet room and the tables are all set up, then it takes banquet housemen to bring those tables in there and put the chairs in there. Then the servers will come along with the tablecloths and put the silverware on top, but there's somebody who bring the tables, take them out, that you never see, unless you need another table. You know, so it's kind of back of the house, front of the house kind of operation. That's where we divide it up.
Can I ask a little bit about, we're going to talk about the Hyatt contract because we have been told here at the Labor Forum that it's something that really is a model that perhaps hotel workers and hospitality workers, as more generally known, would really want. But let me ask first about wages, working conditions, shifts. You know, how is it that does the average hospitality worker working in a hotel, let's say just in downtown Atlanta, let's not go anyplace else, do they have 40 hours a week? Do they have different hours every week?
The majority of full-time workers have 40 hours a week, and you know it's sort of. They do change, the hours do, it's not permanent schedules, the way some of us would envision having where you go Monday through Friday, that wouldn't change. But there are times when the city is very busy. The city is now really, Atlanta is really becoming, the conventions are more, it used to be like winter time, now it's year round where the house is full. So, and we've noticed that a lot of hotels now are aggressively going out trying to get more housekeepers. That is a one industry, which is good. In some ways it's good because it's kind of raising up the rates. The demand is out there, and a lot of employers are recognizing that this is a hard job and they need to attract and retain good people. So in some ways it's working in our favor now because the city is so busy with the convention center, the Congress Center, bringing in, you know, you can bring in a 60,000 convention here pretty easy. And so the things are kind of working in our favor for hotel workers, but as a union rep, they kind of, you know, we see a lot of potential in Atlanta.
Well, let me ask about wages, though.
Well, at the Hyatt, what we did, we had a lot of people, really the wages really were, in some ways, really low. And we started out trying with a goal of getting, we had a two-pronged plan. One plan was to get wages for every year of the contract, and then one plan was to bring the base up. You know, for the base, the base will be an attractive base. We there were people making less than $9 an hour.
I'm sorry, there were
some people making less than $9 an hour. Quite a few, too many. That had been there. We found people that had been there years. No, not to put down the Hyatt. You know, not doing that because the management there were pretty good people in negotiation. But we was able to bring the wages up to minimum at $9 an hour. And then there's some good wages for the next 5 years. It's a 5-year contract. And the 5-year contract averages at about over 50 cents an hour per year, which really would, in the end of the 5-year contract, those workers, most workers will see a $5,000 increase in their salary, which I think is significant. I believe it's a very, we're very proud of that contract.
Let me turn to Geno, and then maybe Paul has a question too. So you're a cook.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, so I assume that there's just many different kinds of places in a hotel as big as the Hyatt. There obviously are restaurants. And there's conventions that have banquets or other kind of banquets, special events. Then there's room service. And I suppose there's snack bars and a variety of other things.
Yes.
So how is it that how do you find your job? What is it that you do?
Well, I started off at one of the restaurants in Sway, and I got transferred to in-room dining, but I still go up and I help out wherever's needed. So I'll go up and if we're busy in Sway, I'll come up and I'll help out because I already know the menu. And if we're busy in banquets, I'll go out to the main kitchen and I help in the main kitchen. So that way we can make sure that all of our guests are serviced.
All right, so but is there a difference in pay between cooks that are doing banquets and cooks that are all the time in a restaurant, or is it the same pay scale?
We have different pay scales based on your abilities. So you have from cook 1 to cook 4.
Okay.
Cook 4 being the highest paid. And then right under that would be your junior sous and your sous chefs and so on and so forth.
So how did you get into cooking?
Wow. My grandmother, actually. We have a very large family. I have 16 uncles and aunts. So whenever my grandma would get up, she would get up early in the morning and start cooking. When she's done with breakfast, she's starting lunch. When she's done with lunch, she's starting dinner. You know, and then we had a garden out back, which is very rare to have a garden. Well, back in those days in Chicago, to have a garden in your backyard. So I would tend garden, and she just introduced me to all of that. And
Cool.
I've been hooked ever since.
So did you go to a school? Did you get do you have some sort of cordon bleu?
No, I do not
Degree?
have. I have
You
the
have a
degree
life
of hard
degree?
knocks.
Yeah, you have a life degree? Okay.
But I've been cooking professionally cooking since I was 15.
Well, if I could ask, where did you work before the Hyatt?
Before the Hyatt, I was at Harris Casino in Joliet, Illinois.
Oh, so when you moved here, you got the job
Yeah.
at the Hyatt.
Which
So
is
you-
really interesting because the Hyatt was I had 12 interviews that day. Hyatt was my first interview, and that's the one that I took.
Wonderful. All right, so I'm gonna just see, I can see that Paul has a question.
Well, one question I had about the pay scales is how easy is it to move from one classification to another? Is if you're there a while and you want to continue to make more money, how do you advance yourself within the industry?
Well, according to the contract, the jobs are supposed to be posted, and you know where they should be posted on where everyone can see them, and it's based. You know, seniority is your first prevailing. It's the main thing, but then you know you get we think people who've been there long and shown loyalty should get the first shot at new jobs, at better jobs. The interesting thing about the cook department is that what we talked about the discussion between cook 1 and cook 2, cook 3. Twice a year, we're going to have a little small group of cooks, Geno's included, and a union rep to go in and evaluate the jobs. And if we can find someone who we think is doing cook 2 work, getting paid cook 1 work, then we're going to be able to make that recommendations. And that's built into the contract. That twice a year we get ready to go in and evaluate. That some people, you know, they may have brought somebody in at a lower rate who's not outperforming people at a higher rate, you know. So we do have the opportunity twice a year to go in and evaluate that right there. I think the job posting is the best way. But a lot of times job postings say seniority shall be a factor. And employers will say, you're still not qualified even though you got the seniority. And then that's when we have to, those are some of the cases I like, you know, that fighting for workers to get promoted. I think those most satisfying.
Can you explain how to our listeners how this might be different if people didn't have a union in terms of how management might play favorites or whatever?
Go ahead, Geno.
With that one, that's pretty easy. If you did not have a union and you worked and worked and worked for this particular company, and they have a friend that they hire in, and you will be overlooked very easily. But since we have this contract, and we have, which the Hyatt is really good at posting all of their positions online and also at the job site, you have that opportunity to go in and look and see what's available and then put your bid in for it. And a lot of times with my chef, if he sees that you're doing well and that you're progressing, he will automatically move you up.
And are they going to give preference to someone who already works there rather they wouldn't bring somebody off the street straight into a job ahead of people who are already there?
That depends on your experience. That a lot of that has to do with your experience.
One of the things we put in the contract too, that because we, you know, when you're doing a contract, you have to go through a lot of numbers and a lot of facts and try to figure out things. And we noticed that some people were coming in that were making more than people, you know, and like you just said, based on your skill set. But now they have to tell us when they hire somebody, you know, when they bring somebody in, they have to let the union know we brought this guy. They can pay above the scale, but not below the scale. But now there was nothing in the contract for us to know that somebody could be walking around there making more. We found people making more who were brand new, and that can be a problem sometimes. You know, okay. So it's based on we know. I believe seniority in a lot of places. I think it's the best system. In my experience, I think it's the, you know, you've been there a long time. You show loyalty. that if something good come open, you ought to get the first shot at it. And that's, you know, we hear this thing from management about working your way up from the bottom. Address one thing you asked about cooks. A lot of cooks start out as dishwashers. A lot of cooks start out as dishwashers, cutting vegetables on a plate, on a table. In a main kitchen, a big kitchen, there's a big kitchen. There's a pantry table, a meat table, butcher table. And so a lot of cooks would, a lot of dishwashers would be, you know, the chef would let them cut a few vegetables. And they be learning and they be watching. And when the job come open, they say, hey, chef, I think I can do that. So a lot of older hotels, like out west for sure, San Francisco, most of the cooks started out as a dishwasher.
Let me ask you a question again about the possibilities of discrimination. Because my understanding is what you said is that a lot of the housekeeping staff, and particularly the women, I do want to ask how many rooms they have to clean each day, because I have heard that this is just an absolutely back-breaking, incredible, hard job. But it seems to me, particularly when they're hiring many immigrants, whose English either may be less or not, you know, very good, that opens them up to a great deal of exploitation and misinformation and failure to let them know what their rights are. So I wanted to ask you how Unite here is dealing with the issue of multiple languages spoken by your membership.
We haven't got there in Atlanta, but in San Francisco, we have just like we have translators like the UN. You know, really, it's quite amazing that we got translators equipment for our Asian community and Hispanic community in San Francisco, and the input we got from those people knowing, you know, because they would come to a meeting, just shake their head and say yes, 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 yes. But once they started understanding what we was talking about, their input was invaluable, and they improved on it more. We haven't got there yet in Atlanta. Atlanta's still in Georgia. You know, that didn't change. But we're still at Atlanta's vastly changing. So our union has not got there yet. But what you're talking about is very real. What we see, you have agencies in our hotel, agency workers, subcontractors.
Oh, so everybody's not a direct hire.
Everybody's not a direct hire.
Oh, talk about that then.
That industry that industry has a lot of, you know, it has room for people to get exploited because of people pay for.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but so in other words, there could be housekeepers that are Hyatt employees, and then there's housekeepers that are brought in by an agency?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Now, one of the things I have read many times on the internet, of course, is about the toxic chemicals, the weight of just how hard it is on people's backs and their knees and getting rashes. And so could you talk a little bit about housekeeping? Because again, it is something that when a person does go to a hotel, the first thing you're looking at is how clean the room is. But most people are not aware of how many rooms an individual housekeeper has to clean and exactly all the things they've got to do in a really short period of time.
Okay, well, sure. Well, you know, the housekeeping is, we did studies, United nationwide, we found OSHA complaints that have stuck because of the injury rate among housekeepers. They suffer picking up, you know, you go to a hotel and you sleep in one of those nice beds, they're very nice, but they're very heavy. When they have
mattresses are heavy.
Mattresses, and when you have to pick them up with the duckets on there, you have to remove all of that. And so you see a lot of injuries in that industry, and that it does, you know, even if you speak good English, you know what I mean, it still is a hard job. And what we're very proud of about the contract, we made significant improvements in the Hyatt contract, whereas if you got 12 checkouts, that's the maximum amount of room you would get every day. They have a quota of 16, which most of the cities are at 16 or 18. I would think 18 rooms. Now,
there are some that have 22 rooms.
there are some that have 22.
In an 8-hour day.
Yes.
Well, what happens is they do 18, and the 4 will be waiting on the next day. They have 22 checkouts, and 22 checkouts is much too much work for anyone to do. But a checkout, if somebody's staying overnight, a stay over, you just go in and kind of move a little stuff around, you know, kind of clean up the little
Right, you
waste
don't
basket.
change the sheets.
Right. But checkout is a lot of work. And so we got a 12 checkout. If you got 12 checkout, that's the maximum you're gonna do that day. And if you go up, if you travel up 3 floors, you drop a room. So you go down, if you start out with 16, if you go up 3 floors, you drop 1 room, you're now down to 15. And if you have to go to another building, you drop a floor, because they got 2 towers there, so you go from tower to tower. So we put in traveling language. We wanted 2 floors, they only gave us 3 floors, you know, so we'll take it. But you know, it's a start in the right direction of trying to get Atlanta housekeepers with the national standard. The national standard really is 14 rooms, 8 checkouts, you drop a room. But we couldn't get that the first time, but we will get there, you know, but we are on the way to getting there. Housekeeping is an industry you really need to look at.
Well, I want to go back to the kitchen then, because
Okay.
I also think that kitchens are very dangerous. There's things that are boiling, and there's knives that are flying, and there's slippery floors and water and
Yeah.
So talk about. Again, I think these are things that when people go to a banquet and there's a couple hundred or 1,000 people waiting, you know, to all get their meal at literally the same time, both between the servers and the kitchen. This is a fast-paced job with a lot of possibilities for falls and injuries. And I'd like you to talk about that.
Well, fortunately, we have a very good system. So if we're doing 1,000 plated or 2,000, whatever the number is, we'll have lanes set up. So you have a table, at least 2 or 3 different tables set up in a row, and everybody has something individual. If you're just putting 2 carrots on a plate, that's all you're gonna do is put 2 carrots on a plate. If you're scooping up mashed potatoes, you got 1 person just to scoop mashed potatoes.
I know, I was an auto worker. I did the same thing over
Okay,
and over
right.
again.
So we have the same concept. We have that assembly line, and then at the end you have somebody to wipe the plates, put them up, and go. You have a lot of people on doing the job necessary to make it safe, so that we don't have to worry about somebody. There's no rush. It's just you have to be proficient or efficient to make sure that everything goes out smoothly. Everything is time-based. As long as you put everything out, if you start your prep on time, you're going to finish on time, and you're going to get that job done.
So you're not going to tell me about any dangerous conditions in the kitchen, then any story you've got about. I mean, I cut myself in my own kitchen.
The dangerous thing about the kitchen is you not being aware of your surroundings and not being aware of what you're doing. Because I've done it myself. I'm in a rush, I'm changing grease in the fryer, I forget to close the grease trap, I pour the grease in, I got hot grease spilled on my leg. I did that. That was me rushing, not paying attention. If you're rushing in the kitchen, you're going to have an accident. But as long as you take your time and you're doing what you're supposed to do and you follow all the safety rules, you're good. But everybody's going to have accidents. You're going to get burnt, you're going to get cut.
We have there's a language we speak in hotels too. You know,
Yeah.
our own language. We know, like behind you. You know, all you have to do is say that to someone behind you. And they know that somebody behind you told them something heavy. Or you could say, hot coming. My favorite was, it's hot, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? People put a guy the way pretty much there. You know, so you have a little language that we learn how to respect each other and try to stay out the dangerous position. But people will drop stuff on the floor. A waiter coming out in a hurry, drop a lot of stuff, and that creates. You need the steward department to come there right away to get that up, to keep the grease off the floor, to keep from getting hurt.
Well, we're almost out of time. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I certainly will be paying more attention. Not that I'm ever, I have to say, I've never stayed in the Hyatt.
Okay.
But
You're more than welcome.
Or any of the fancy hotels downtown, but I have had occasion to go to banquets there. And I always appreciate the fact that we have at least 2 hotels in Atlanta that are unionized, and the workers have some degree of say-so and some rights. In about the last minute or so, are there any other organizing drives, or do you have any words of advice that you'd like to give to any hospitality worker out there about how they might connect up with Unite here and perhaps get in a union.
One thing before he says that, I would like to say that the Hyatt contract, this contract is the best contract that we've had in over 35 years.
Good.
And this is coming from the Hyatt employees that have been there for 45, 35 years.
Wow.
This is what they told me, that they were so proud of us for coming through with this contract. It's the best they've had in over 35 years.
So how do other workers get the best?
It's a Unite Here web page. You can go on. You know, look us up. We're in the phone book. Unite Here. That would be the best way. Local 23 in Atlanta. But we are hoping that this contract at the Hyatt will entice other hotel workers to seek us out. You know what I mean? And that if so, the International is prepared to spend the resources in Atlanta. One thing I like to say though, Unite Here International is doing a lot of things I think a lot of unions should be doing. Unite Here has not given up on the South. You know, we believe the right to work is a right to work, but we believe that workers in Atlanta and, you know, in part right to work states want pensions, they want wages, they want benefits like anybody else. I think the workers did not make that rule right to work. It was the bosses made that rule. So,
right.
you know what I mean?
Segregation is
yeah, right. So
Right.
we intend to smash that myth if we can. Not to seem cocky, but we are going to show a lot of confidence and try to. If we believe when we do the right thing and we're honest with people, that people will, you know, believe in us, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to be honest. That's the main thing I think a union rep has to be. A union has to be as honest and tell people what's out there and what's real and what's not real.
I want to thank you both for being here, especially on this first day of our pledge drive here at WRFG, because this kind of represents the kind of talk and the information and the encouragement, you know, for people to stand up for their rights that this station tries to embody. So again, listeners, you did just hear from Alphonso Pines and Geno Lawson from Unite Here. Paul and I are very happy that we had them as a guest today, and we also want to thank Jesse Freeston for calling in and remind you again about the film on Wednesday night at Georgia State, Resistencia, the fight for the Aquan Valley. And we like to connect all the struggles of workers all around the world because frankly everybody is wanting that same thing, a secure job, a decent life for themselves and their children. So I want to thank you again and encourage everybody to remember that you can call in to WRFG at 404-523-8989, 24 hours a day for the next 3 weeks. Make your pledge. You can do it actually 365 days a year. We want to thank our listeners for supporting this station for 42 plus years. And with that, we're out. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.